Welcome to Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to awaken our divine nature and explore the provocative inner force compelling us toward our fullest potential. If you've achieved external success but feel a deeper calling, if you're tired of dimming your light to fit in, and you know there's a more powerful way to live and lead and love, you're in the right place. Host Donna Bond is a best-selling author, modern-day high priestess, and catalyst for personal transformation. Together, we're birthing a new paradigm of loving leadership, integrating our humanity with divine wisdom as our individual awakening serves collective evolution. Here's your host of Spiritual Ambition, Donna Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in, welcome back. Welcome if you're here for the first time. Welcome if you're scrolling. I'm Donna Bond, and I'm a soul catalyst and a spiritual psychology coach. And today on Spiritual Ambition, we are going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, spiritual curriculum. You know, if you've ever felt like you are stuck in the same old repeating pattern, even when you thought, oh, I've healed this one, I thought that I healed this one, you're going to want to stick around for today's show because we're going to talk with spiritual counselor and fellow University of Santa Monica alumna, Dr. Katja Rusanen, about her new book called Your Spiritual Curriculum. So if you've read a lot of books yourself, you've sat in the circles, you've done the healing, but you find yourself here again, same pattern, different characters, maybe the geography has moved around a little bit, you're in a different situation, but there is still that stinging ring of familiarity. You're not going to want to miss today's show. What you're experiencing, it's not failure, and there's nothing wrong with you, but you are being invited into the opportunity to respond in a different way. You know, Earth is a school, and the reason that we get a body and have a human experience is to grow our soul's wisdom. You enrolled in this school before you got here. Every experience, every challenge, every repeating pattern, it's all part of your sacred soul plan, or in other words, your spiritual curriculum. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're not off track. You're exactly where your soul is giving you the greatest opportunity for learning, growing, and spiritual awakening. So I want to pose a soul starter today as a question for reflection that I want you to sit with as we go through our episode. If your soul designed your life as a sacred learning curriculum just for you, what familiar situation keeps showing up, and how are you being invited to grow through it? Not go through it, grow through it. My intention for you today is actually that you make peace around your spiritual curriculum. And to support us in doing that, we're going to get to talk with Dr. Katja Rusanen, who is a fellow graduate of the University of Santa Monica, a #1 best-selling author of Your Spiritual Curriculum. And I cannot wait to talk with her because I have a lot of questions. So I want to invite all of us. We're going to call in the light first. We're going to send some love around the planet, and then we're going to bring Dr. Rusanen on to talk with us. So wherever you are, unless you are driving a car, I want to invite you to close your eyes and just turn your attention inward. And just sensing into that life force that's beating your heart, the life force that is breathing you. Just coming into stillness, coming into a moment of silence, a moment of peacefulness inside of yourself, stepping out of your busy day, giving yourself just this beautiful hour to tune in to your soul. Infinite Universe, we call ourselves forward into your loving. We ask to be cleared, filled, surrounded, and protected with the clear white light of living love. We ask that any karma, negativity, or imbalance be lifted and transmuted at this time, taken to the highest realms of light and sound, and dispersed back into the nothingness, into this space. We recognize grace, peace, light, upliftment, creativity, aliveness, connection, compassion. We acknowledge and we welcome only those divine beings of light who love each one of us unconditionally, who work for the divine plan and who work for the light. We welcome only you into our sacred space here today. We ask for your support and assistance in bringing forward healing, revelation, and wisdom of the heart that will resonate most profoundly with each listener here for their highest good and the highest good of all concerned. We are so grateful for the opportunity to come together, to join our hearts, to open our minds. For this and more, we say thank you. So be it. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Well, we are going to do our sacred circle of light quickly here. This is where in each episode, our community comes together. We join our hearts and we send our intention for healing energy to send love and light out and across the globe, across the planet, to anybody who might be needing some support, anybody who might be struggling with health challenges or facing difficult decisions, anybody that you know of who just might need some extra support right now. We believe in the power of our loving collective intention to uplift and to strengthen those that we care about. So if somebody in your life could use that extra support, you can submit their name to us at spiritualambitionsacredlight.com, and we will hold them in our sacred container and announce their name live here on Spiritual Ambition. So we're going to send the light out and around to Celia and Don, to Beth, Aurora, to Richard, to Jesse, to Kent, to Mina, and to Avina. And if there's anybody else that you have in your heart, we send the light to them as well. And we just take a moment to do that. Remembering the power of your intention and the power of your thoughts and the power of our prayer and the power of your heart. All right. Well, thank you so much. And well, without further ado, Dr. Katja Rusanen is a #1 best-selling author and a spiritual counselor holding a doctoral degree in spiritual science and 2 master's degrees in spiritual psychology and spiritual science. She works with spiritually aware entrepreneurs and leaders who have achieved success but sense that there is another level available to them. She helps them identify and clear the unseen patterns that influence their visibility, their leadership, their relationships, and their growth. And when these patterns become visible, new choices open up and expansion becomes possible without more pressure and without more pushing. Katja brings together spiritual insight and practical clarity to help her clients understand their life experiences from the perspective of the soul. So it's through this lens that past challenges become guidance, patterns become visible, and growth becomes more intentional and aligned. And Katja's commitment to this work is deeply personal, which we will hear about in a moment. So I would like to welcome with us today Dr. Katja Rusanen.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Katja, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today. Tell us where you are in the world right now.
I'm located in Marbella, Spain, but originally, if you wonder where this accent is from, I'm from Finland.
Well, it is so lovely to have you with us. And, you know, from one soul centered sister to another, you know, it's just so awesome when we come together with our fellow USM alumna, because I can just feel the energy and the love. And it's really wonderful to be with you today. Thank you. So, Katja, I want to start by bringing us back to the epic tragedy that happened to you at the age of 16, which really laid a real life illustration of how our spiritual curriculum gets laid out before us. And I want to invite you to share a little bit about that story and then how you began connecting the dots that this was part of your spiritual curriculum.
Sure, I will take you back to that springtime when I was growing up in Finland in a small village, and I fell in love for the first time. And maybe you as well remember your first love. All of a sudden, there are butterflies in your belly, and everything looks so much more beautiful. It just allows you to see how sun is shining brighter, the birds are singing their sweet melodies, and you just feel the bubbles of joy when you get to be with that special person. So that was my experience. It was really, I was like, oh, this is truly sweet 16. But unfortunately, my love story did not end with that happily ever after. It ended when my mom shared the news that my boyfriend had died by suicide.
Wow.
And I still remember that moment when I felt like my life as well ended. And it ended the way the girl who I used to be wasn't there anymore. And I felt like a girl who had a hole in her heart. And yet the life kept going, and I was just asking why. And that was a question. I was seeking answers, and I was going through every memory, every word that I could remember, looking for explanation, looking for like something that could help me to understand. But I did not really find the answers. And then I started to think like, oh, if I would have been more attractive, more attentive, more whatever, he would have stayed. Because yet I was 16, so that's how I saw the situation. Like, I should have saved him. And even that time, I was already intuitive, and I felt like, why didn't I see this coming? Like, why didn't I see it? And that then the self-blame put me into a very, very dark place that I almost followed his footsteps. I was so close because the pain that I felt was so overwhelming, and I just wanted that pain to end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there was 11th hour. I was already like, I had decided that this needs to end. I can't take it. And then there was this glimpse of light in my very dark mind. And that glimpse of light reminded me of my parents and their love for me. And that love pulled me back and made me to choose life. And that choice started my healing journey through the darkness, through that pain. And also finding out the answers to the question of why. Why did this happen?
My goodness. Welcome in, everyone. If you are just tuning in, we are in conversation with Dr. Katja Rusanen, and we are talking about spiritual curriculum. And Katja, thank you so much for sharing such a deeply tender story. And I can't even imagine one of my younger sisters was in a car that was driving recklessly, and she insisted on getting out of that car. And moments later, the car crashed and several people in that car died. And I know what my sister went through from surviving that. And I can't even imagine the conclusions that the young heart and the young mind draws at that time in their life about what they make that mean about them, and trying to save people, and what this means about ourselves individually. I just want to make note that remembering the love that your parents had for you and the incredible importance of that moment in time, of that light coming into your consciousness and rerouting you off of the dark path and back onto a path of healing, is so important and significant. And, it's funny, we were talking before, because I know you met with Dr. Alicia Das before this. And so we said there's angels in the room, and we can feel the angels, and I can feel the angelic presence here, right here and now. And so I just want to ask you, did you have any sense back then at 16 that there were angels nudging you or supporting you or helping you to remember that love of your parents?
Yeah. Now I know that there was an angel overseeing, but of course we do have a free choice. But there was this little intervention of bringing that light in. And those days I have had the concept of guardian angel. And I always kept saying, well, my guardian angel is broken. It doesn't work, because I had to go through this pain. And now I say, oh boy, they were working full time and overtime to keep me safe. But that I remember being the 16-year-old and my guardian angel doesn't work, because I was going through that suffering.
Yeah. So for our viewers who might be hearing this word for the very first time, spiritual curriculum, give us a definition of this. What is our spiritual curriculum, and how did this tragic event at the age of 16 become yours?
Yeah, because I had the question why. And that question led me then to spiritual path, because that was the only way to start getting answers. I couldn't find the answers anywhere else. And little by little, because when the student is ready, the teachers appear. And that was the case in my life too. It took a while, because I was in a very dark place. Even when I chose to continue here, then there was still years of being depressed, being in a dark place, but there was this glimpse of light sometimes, whether it was a sentence, whether it was lyrics, and I started finding my way. And I had this quote from it's often dedicated for Buddhism studies, this too shall pass. And that in the beginning helped me. And then I was checking into Buddhist teachings, and there was this saying that all life is suffering. And I was like, oh, there are people who got this right. And of course, I totally did not understand the teaching back then. But I felt like, okay, there are people who understand where I'm coming from because that was my experience back then. So, how did I then start seeing the spiritual curriculum? Part of that was starting to learn how to see life from soul's perspective. And University of Santa Monica was definitely a huge turning point for me. It was eye-opening to starting to see like, and this is a question I would love everyone to ask. What if you are a soul having this human experience and you are using this human experience to learn something in a positive sense? What the lesson could be? And when I started asking that, I started seeing answers. And answers that I hadn't seen before because I was just focusing on suffering.
Yes.
And what happens when we start seeking the lessons? We start checking how we have evolved as we have gone through those events. And often here in the Earth School, those lessons we are going through, they can be very, very dense, very challenging. But if you start seeing the lesson, then things start shifting for you. So that is definitely.
Can you give us a practical way to get out of the suffering? You know, because you know how it is when we are deep in it, we're in so much pain that it's not easy to just get out of it and see the lesson. And sometimes I think also what happens is we get on a spiritual path, we start looking for what is the lesson. We think that we found something in our mind, and then we give ourselves a spiritual bypass and we skip over the real healing that needs to happen. So if somebody is deep in suffering, what is one small step that someone can take to get out of that and begin to move forward?
So the first step in my book is actually just breathe. Breathing, and I ignored that for many, many years. I was like, why should we focus on breathing? We breathe anyway, so why in the earth? People are talking about this breathing so much. But when you are deep, deep in suffering, it is actually, especially if it's grief, it is hard to breathe.
Yeah.
And what happens then? Your body goes to alert mode because it's like, hey, I need the oxygen. But if you breathe, like deep conscious breath in, and you can, if you want, even say, I breathe love, I breathe kindness, compassion, whatever word works for you that you would like to receive. And sometimes we might even feel I don't deserve anything. But maybe you can say, I'm willing to breathe in compassion.
Love that.
And then you can breathe out everything else. So sometimes even that, like 3 deep breaths, and you can keep your eyes open because sometimes if we have gone through trauma, closing eyes might be too much. So do whatever works for you. But that can be a very simple step, and you can do it anywhere because, as we said, you breathe anyway. So just bringing that awareness, how does it feel when the air comes in, and how does it feel when you let go?
Beautiful. Jennifer Rose is saying hello. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here. We are talking about spiritual curriculum. And Dr. Rusanen has just given us a great tip on the first thing that we can do if we're trapped in our suffering. Breathe. Just breathe. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how we can begin to identify some of this suffering as curriculum.
Yes. Oh, I love this question. So, as we start wanting to first setting that intention that you want to seek the lessons, so you want to see it. And then one of the keys that I have learned as I studied doctorate in spiritual science was observation. And then you might ask, what do I observe? Of course, like it will be, you can check in your timeline. And this is exercise, I have it in my book as well, like draw your timeline from your birth to the current moment and start writing the highs and lows, because those are the things we remember more easily. And then you can start observing your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions or non-actions. And that's kind of like a golden triangle, because all of those are connected. And it is through the observation. Well, for example, if you're observing your mind and you start seeing there is repetitive thought and maybe it's not that supportive. So maybe part of the lesson is to finding a way to be more loving towards yourself. So it is an opportunity for us to see how we can find a way. What are we learning through those events and experiences that we have gone through in our life, and how they have influenced our mind, our emotions, and our actions or non-actions. And as we observe, we often start seeing what has repeated. And when we start seeing that, that's an opportunity for us to find that lesson, what we have been learning through these events that we have gone through.
There's a jam on the highway.
That's okay.
What happens to people who don't want to recognize that there is a curriculum? And yeah, what happens to people who don't recognize that there's a curriculum?
Don't you worry. The lesson repeats until you learn it. So that's part of the here. Like, and we come here in, I believe we are in the Earth School, and the school is always in session, but we also can learn through joy, like through good stuff. But often what's still the most common lessons here in the Earth School are lessons through suffering.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be that way. But if we are not interested in learning, and that's okay. I have had many lifetimes I didn't always want to learn, and now I'm like, okay, let me just clear as much as I can in this lifetime. And that's again, we have that choice. Not everybody are open to that, but I believe that once we are ready, we can have that willingness. And one of my spiritual teachers says, your willingness to do gives you the ability to do. So like I started looking for the answer to the question why, I started finding the answers. And it's okay because we are on that healing journey. It takes the time it takes. And I had definitely resistance to heal in the beginning because I carried that guilt. I didn't even think I deserved to be happy. So wherever
Blessing.
wherever you are on your healing journey, just have compassion with yourself. Because if you feel I don't want to find the lessons I have learned and the life sucks and all these things, just maybe you can apply a little compassion towards yourself. Because I hear that you have that pain, and the pain is talking. So just be loving as much as you can. And I know loving can be a triggering word as well. At least it was for me.
Oh,
So that's
really?
why, yeah, because, well, love hurts. So that was my belief. That's the meaning I attached. So that's why there is other words: kindness, compassion. Use the words that work for you.
Yeah. You know, what I have found in my own spiritual curriculum is that there are certain things that I had remembered over the course of my life, as early as kindergarten, that I recently connected a lot of dots around, which all had to do with the shutdown of my voice. But back then, like in kindergarten, I never would have known, right, that part of my learning and growth in this life is going to be about the authentic self-expression of my own voice and like freeing the authentic self-expression of my voice. So it was quite shocking when I suddenly recognized all these isolated incidents, what looked like isolated incidents, over the course of 40, 50. I mean, I'm 58 now. So over many decades, there's this thread now that all has gone through them. And what I have discovered, and I just want to invite you to speak to this, is that now that I'm aware that this theme of letting my voice be free and leaning into authentic self-expression, no matter what, is part of my sacred soul plan, is my fancy term for spiritual curriculum. Now I go into it with my eyes open. Like I am so much more aware now because some of the experiences that have been served up to me have been comical. Truthfully, they have been painful and they have been comical. But I finally, and I always like to say I'm a little thick-headed. I need like a whole poster board to fall out of the sky and hit me in the head so that I get it. But what are your thoughts on this? That like there is curriculum that's in our past that we don't even connect the dots on.
Yeah, there is that divine timing, but when you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's the key. Like there comes that light bulb moment, and then everything starts making sense. Like, for example, in my life, I have had this polarity lessons, which is like life and death. Like I have gone through a lot of loss. And one of the big lessons have been like learning to love myself again, life again, God again. And it is that beauty, like you had that moment when you started seeing it. And when we start seeing the lesson, yeah, sometimes the events still happen and we feel like challenged when things happen. And there is this opportunity for expansion because you have the awareness and you see, this is part of what I'm learning here. So thank you. This is the opportunity for me now to go through another lesson and another level. So, like you doing now a podcast, look at that. Like, what growth that has been. And
Right.
also, I would love to invite everyone when we start finding those lessons we have learned, celebrate. Because I always see my soul like just like having these moments like, yes, finally, now she got it. Yay. Now we can just do something else. And like it's lesson learned. And I sometimes even say, hey, universe, check. And this lesson, I got it now. Thank you. And that gratitude as well just changes how you are telling the story about your past. Because now, like you have the awareness, hey, this is what I have been learning. So you can change how you see sometimes even those challenging experiences. It doesn't change what happened. What happened, happened. But it changes the story you are telling within and what meaning you give to those events. So you have now like, hey, I'm learning this authentic self-expression. And I see now how those events I went through served me on the way.
Yeah. So if somebody is really stuck in a story that's not serving them, they're stuck with that victim mentality, that victim consciousness. And I mean, I certainly was, if you heard about all these stories and they're out there, you can catch them. But there was definitely, that wounded part of myself that was like, oh my God, this is happening to me. This is not happening for me. And the pain that goes along with it. When we are, and something else, I can hear Carolyn Mace and her word woundology talk about this, how, we use our pain as a way to connect with others. And we use our story of poor me, and this happened to me, as a way to, I don't know that we do this consciously, but to get attention, to get love, to get recognition, to feel connected to others. How do we move ourselves through that, Katja?
Really great question, because I definitely was there. This
We've
is
all been there.
happening to me.
And we'll
Like
be there again. We'll be there again.
I was the victim of life and like really felt like life is happening to me. So if that's where you find yourself, just know you're not the only one. That is very common experience here. And so how do we start moving forward from there? And one of the things, first of all, if you recognize that you are in that place where life is happening to you, that's already a victory. Because then you have a choice. You are not anymore on autopilot, like telling that story, but you start being aware, like, I am a little bit feeling like a victim here. I am telling that story that actually doesn't really uplift me. It makes me feel like crap. And like you start seeing these things, like again, observation. And how do you start shifting? I feel like that's when you find the lesson, and how you're going to get there is through the observation and just starting to connect the dots. And that sometimes it's easier to do when you have support available, because sometimes when somebody's holding there the space for you to do the digging, it's easier to start seeing what's really there, whether there is some pain that just needs some loving.
Yeah.
And that you feel those feelings, because I was really good trying to push things under carpet. I did not want to feel, because it felt so overwhelming. So I cut the cord to emotions, but well, that didn't work. and that has been then the work to do and feel those emotions, and that required safe space for me to be able to do so in a safe way. And also then checking the actions. How are you supporting yourself? And that might be like getting the help, getting the support. Because whatever there is, sometimes it becomes easier when we have the right support. And that helps you to find the lesson quicker often. Because I'm now a real advocate for having support, because I resisted having support. So now I'm like, oh boy, oh boy, like please bring me support, bring me help, and also spiritual assistance. So I'm always now asking spiritual assistance as well. And when we see the lesson we have been learning, that's the magic moment. That's when we start seeing that life actually happened for me, not to me, but for me. And that's really when the real shift changes, because then you can start telling a different story. And that changes everything.
So this question might be a little esoteric and controversial. I heard you mention the word choice, like at the very beginning of our discussion together, you said the word free choice. I have a theory, and this is a particularly sensitive question as we bring suicide, as suicide is sort of in the midst of this conversation as well. I have a theory that we all have the opportunity for an exit ramp. And what I mean by that, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer back in 2016, and that diagnosis came through a dream that I had. And at that time in my life, I had just completed my first 2 years at the University of Santa Monica. I had earned my master's degree in spiritual psychology, and I was then going on to pursue consciousness, health, and healing. And I received that diagnosis. Now, I believe, had I been in my old life as a corporate marketing executive who was running and gunning, who had my head down, who wasn't trying to get in alignment with my soul's mission and purpose and path, who really didn't have any level of self-awareness to the degree that I have that now, I really believe that breast cancer diagnosis could have ended up in a very different way. Like perhaps me getting off the planet, because I had a dream about this, which is what prompted me to go get the ultrasound and all the tests. And I think if I were in my old life, I didn't have a meditation practice. I was living very, very differently. I don't know if I would have had the dream. If I'd had the dream, I don't know that I would have remembered the dream, and that could have been a ticking time bomb in my chest that I was oblivious to. And so I've contemplated this frequently. And so I have this theory that was like my soul's design plan for an exit if I needed it.
Yeah.
If I needed it. What are your thoughts on this?
Maybe. It could have been. Like, I just can, of course, thank you for sharing that experience, because it's, again, I believe there is like these different plans, and we do have that choice. Like, but you had made those choices. You had done some changes and shifts. So you had an opportunity to receive that guidance through a dream, and you were open and willing, because even also you took action after that dream, because maybe there could be an option as well. You had the dream and you wouldn't have done anything. That's
Yeah.
another path. But we can always learn. So whatever choices we make, we can always learn from those experiences. And I had as well, I was in that crossroads. Do I choose to continue here or not? It was my choice. And I chose to stay here. And I was pulled back by love. And that just karmically, it just was again an opportunity for me to say yes to life. So we all have those moments. And sometimes what I have heard as well, because I experienced that as well, sometimes there is no openness in your mind. And it is that exit moment for people. And I know it's very, very painful for those who are left behind. And that it's again, that was a really hardcore lesson for me about the free choice. Because he chose to leave and, well, I chose to stay.
Vivian has some really tender questions in the chat. She's asking, did you feel responsible for what happened to your boyfriend? And then did you feel as if your boyfriend's action was meant to hurt you? It's interesting even to hear the phrasing of the question.
Yeah, I think what I felt, I took responsibility. I felt that I should have saved him. I should have seen it happening. Like I was blaming myself that I didn't, because somehow back then I already thought like I was connected to intuition. My mom was, I always say, she was my first spiritual teacher. She was very intuitive. She knew like when people were coming to visit, and like she was like, oh, guests are coming, I'm gonna make coffee. And I was like, oh, I thought it's normal. People just know things. So then I thought like I should have seen it. So I took that responsibility, and that was really, really challenging for me. And in a way, there was a time when I thought like it was about him hurting me, but it was more after that I had a dream. And he actually came to apologize, and that dream was very a lifesaver. It was just like it happened quick. I was just in a dark place, and I just didn't think. That was the message I received. And that was something that I still see how it supported me to keep going, as I had that dream and seeing that he was okay on the other side. So we all have these experiences, and again, I just see that he was suffering. And later on, I found out that he had not been in a good place before me. But of course, I first took on that it was my fault.
Yeah. But I think it bears speaking out loud, that just the reminder for all of us that every single one of us is responsible for our own choices in life. And we don't have that kind of power over each other to do something that, causes another to take an action that they are not responsible for, right?
Yeah.
We are all responsible for the choices that we make in our life.
That's
So
very
Vivian asks again, how did you go from being a victim to being your own superhero?
Oh, I love the wording. Be your own superhero. Because that's what we are. We are the hero of our life. We truly are. So how? There is one exercise, all of you, if you are willing to test it out.
Yes.
And it's a very powerful one. You just write a story, and you don't need to be a writer to do it. You just share what happened in a place. Like think about, you share from the point of view of the victim first. You write the story. Allow yourself to be the victim. Poor me, life happened to me. And just don't filter, because comes when you have done personal development, then you start editing. I shouldn't say
Right.
this. No, just let go and just be the victim, write the story. And then once that's done, take a new piece of paper and write a story. What if you are the hero of your life? Right from that point of view, the same stories, the same event. And then you have these two stories about the same event. One point of view of victim, one point of view, you being the hero of your story. And then you got to
Love
choose.
this. What a wonderful activity.
Yeah, you get to choose. Okay, which one do I want to tell myself? And again, it doesn't change what happened, but it changes how you relate to what happened. And more importantly, and I know this is one quote I'm carrying from the University of Santa Monica, because they say how you relate to the issue is the issue, and how you relate to yourself while you are going through the issue is the issue. So you can relate to yourself through loving.
Katja, talk to us about your new book. You hit the #1 bestseller list. Congratulations. It's great. I saw the picture of you standing in the bookstore with your beautiful book on the shelf. It's so exciting. We're going to ask Kelly to drop the link in the chat. So anybody who might want to get a copy of your spiritual curriculum can go ahead and grab that. And I know you have a special gift for us.
Yes. So first of all, get the book, because that guides you step by step. And it just has 5 steps and plenty of really insightful exercises that can help you discover what is your spiritual curriculum. And then I also ask Donna, like, okay, I also love giving. So, of course, the book is something you need to buy. But then I wanted to give you a gift as well. And that is a new work that I'm bringing forward. And it is revealing your invisible ceiling. And if you feel that you know what to do, you have steps, and this is especially if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, coach, healer, and you got the strategy, but that is not still bringing those results that you desire. There might be invisible ceiling, and again, this is part of your spiritual curriculum too. Like, we all have some level of invisible ceilings, and when we break through them, we can again take those steps forward on our path. Like you, Donna, you have now a podcast. Like,
I'm hitting the ceiling too, though. I'm hitting the ceiling. I can't wait to change that.
That's a new level. So it is you are using your voice already. So it is again an opportunity for us to gain awareness where our invisible ceilings might be, and more importantly, what you can then do with them once you find them. So that is my gift for you. So get that copy of Invisible Ceiling, and that way you as well can start gaining that freedom.
Dr. Katja Rusanen, we are so happy to be with you here today, a fellow sister from the University of Santa Monica. It's just lovely to be with you and to be in that USM energy field. It's just so palpable. It really is. It's just such a sacred honor to be part of the lineage of the work that was pioneered by Drs. Ron and Mary Holnick, and to be able to be light bearers out in the world, carrying the torch and carrying forward this beautiful work of spiritual psychology. So it's my honor to stand shoulder to shoulder with you, and thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else that you want to leave our viewers with today?
Oh, thank you for asking. I just want to share that your past does not need to equal your future. So many of us have gone through some challenging life experiences, but as we study our spiritual curriculum, as we learn and we grow, we can gain that freedom, we can gain that loving back again. Because I believe you are love and light manifested. So it's already within you. And all you need to do is to clear those blocks and barriers that might be now on the way for you to really truly experiencing that loving that is there for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We are going to close our space in the same way that we opened it. So if we can just ask everyone to close your eyes for just a moment, and we just send a blessing of healing grace over everyone's spiritual curriculum, knowing that all of our challenges and our trials in our life, the biggest difficulties that we've had, are all really designed for our growth and evolution, for our upliftment and our learning, and to remember and to recognize that we are the presence of love. We are now closing all energetic lines of communication between any of us, closing all open portals, gateways, channels, agreements, and lines of communication between any of us and the spirit world. We are grateful for the opportunity to come together and do this work. And for this and more, we say thank you. I'm Donna Bond. You're watching Spiritual Ambition. We are closing the session today in love, with love, for love, by love, as love. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being you.